Hi, welcome back. Just so you all know, we tried to do this about 20 minutes ago, and we're doing it again because Kimberly's a pro, and we're really dedicated to getting out her message. This is How to Exhale, a series on love and hate in America. I'm going to do a quick team check. Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Feeling good. So our hope is to keep this conversation open, especially in the areas where our country is the most polarized. And today's special guest is Kimberly Ellis, and we are going to talk about guts and courage and grit because Kimberly is one of the gutsiest people that I know. So welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Again, take two.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Thanks for having me again.
So today's International Women's Day. It's an event that's been celebrated worldwide for over 100 years, and this year's theme is quite fittingly Be Bold for Change. Organizers of the Women's March have also called for a general strike today, asking women not to work and to shop and to wear red in solidarity. And the idea is to make visible the often invisible contribution of women's labor in our homes and in our workplaces and in our society. So right now, and always, but there's a lot of ways to participate in social change. There's marching, there is striking, there is sharing stories, opening difficult conversations, volunteering, calling your local representative, getting more civically engaged, going to your local city council meeting, for example. There's also running for office. And since the election, organizations that recruit and train and support and promote women in running for office are seeing unprecedented, dramatic numbers of women signing up and saying, I'm ready for this. Numbers between like 4,000 to 13,000. So a little history. Exhale was founded at the same time as an organization called Emerge California, and their mission is to train Democratic women to run for office. And Emerge California grew into this Emerge America big national network with lots of affiliates around the country. And in 2011, I went through this program, and it was the first year for Kimberly to serve as its executive director. After the program, I was appointed by Oakland's mayor, Jean Quan, at the time, to serve on the Public Ethics Commission for the city of Oakland, and I did that for 3 years, and I loved really every minute of it. Over that period of time, or since she was executive director of Emerge, Kimberly grew it from what was really just like a Northern California program to something that's statewide. She dramatically increased the participation of women of color in the program. She has taken a very strong leadership position in recruiting men to the cause of women's political leadership. She's the first Black executive director in the Emerge network. And she's just been crisscrossing this state and getting to know different communities and their needs and women leaders and emerging women leaders and political stakeholders and power brokers. So she is now running to be chair of the Democratic Party of California. And this isn't something that most of us get to vote for. This is where party delegates vote for their chair, and they'll be voting at the convention in Sacramento in May. So I was at Kimberly's kickoff event last year, pre-election, and I was blown away by your speech. And you took such a strong and clear stand about the need to redefine and revolutionize. I'm pretty sure you said the word revolution like 20 times. To redefine and revolutionize the Democratic Party. And so can you just talk a little bit about your vision?
Yeah. Well, so I woke up after the November election to two kids who were crying and to wiping away tears and to answering questions about how someone had just won the presidency who stood against every value that we held dear. And so it reaffirmed for me what I was doing in my quest to be the next chair of the California Democratic Party. The California Democratic Party is the largest, most powerful, most influential state party in the entire country. what happens here reverberates throughout the rest of the country. And so making sure that we rebuild our party here in a bigger, better, bolder way that really gets back to basics and really gets back to connecting in a very deep way to other people is really important. It's how we will get back to winning elections across this country. And so for me, this really was about creating a vision for the rest of the country. And having California, which is the 6th largest economy in the world, do what only California can do, and that is stand as a beacon of light for the rest of the country. And so my vision is that the California Democratic Party is one that is more open, one that is more fair, more equitable, more just, one that brings in different voices and perspectives, that opens our tent up, if you will, even wider, that takes a collective step back and welcomes people to our table so that we can rebuild for the future and show the rest of the country how we go about healing the divide that's in this nation and get back to being one America.
The United States of America,
yes,
as President Obama said, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. So you're a very talented person, very talented leader. You could be a lot of things in this world. Can you talk about like why you picked politics and why you picked party politics in particular? Because that can be a little different.
Yeah. Well, so chair of the California Democratic Party was never even on my radar.
Okay.
And I was actually recruited to run for this position by Hillary Crosby and Karen Weinstein. But for me, I have a personal philosophy that every single aspect of life is political. From whether or not the grocery store in your community offers fresh fruits and vegetables, to how much you pay in taxes at the gas station, to whether or not the people who are working to repair your sewer system are unionized. So every single aspect of life is political, in my opinion. And so there are different vehicles and ways in which we all can plug into making this world a better place. And for me, politics was that avenue for me to plug in, to give my time, my talent, and my treasure to try to bring about more fairness, more equity, and more justice for everybody. And with respect to party politics, I think because in terms of our parties, we have very different philosophies and ideology, and I believe deeply that the Democratic Party is the party that stands for a woman's reproductive right and right to choose, and stands for the working class, and stands for immigrants, and stands for those who don't have a voice. And so for me, this is about redefining what it means to be a Democrat, such that we are distinguishing ourselves from the other side as the party that really does want to bring about fairness, equity, and better realities in everybody's life.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what the role of the chair is? What does the chair do?
Yeah. So it's actually a question that I asked Hillary and Karen when they first recruited me. I was like, heck no, I don't want to do that. Doesn't sound fun. What do they do?
That sounds like a lot of meetings.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of meetings. Not a lot of fun. But what I learned over the course of about 8 or 9 months of doing my research about the party, how it's structured, what it does, what I learned was there are really only a couple things that the chair of the party is required to do. Number one, they fundraise enough money to make sure that the party is as effective and efficient as possible. They serve as the official spokesperson for all California Democrats, and they help to advance our collective agenda of getting more Democrats elected up and down the state and up and down the ballot. But more important for me was the fact that beyond that, the chair of the California Democratic Party really could do whatever it was she wanted to do. And for me, it crystallized in that moment that I could use the platform, the chair of the California Democratic Party, to be a huge agent of change, to bring about a new energy, a new spirit to this party, to help to make sure we are grooming the next generation of political leadership in California that is truly reflective of the beautiful diversity that's here, that makes sure that we are a party that is not just talking about our values, but living our values in every single aspect, getting down into the community, letting people know who we are, what we stand for. it was those things that weren't written in the rules of what the chair had to do, but more interestingly, what the chair could do. Yeah.
I love that distinction between what you have to do and what you can do, because that's the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And that's where you get to be creative.
Yeah.
And that's where you get to make things happen,
That's
which is
right.
what we need.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier 2 women in particular, Hillary Crosby and Karen Weinstein, that recruited you. So is that, you've been talking to women interested or maybe have never considered running for office, recruiting them into the Emerge California program or recruiting them to, throw their hat in the ring. So is that important? Is it important for us to ask each other to run for office?
Absolutely. It is critical, in fact. Women, unlike men, do not self-nominate, interestingly enough, to run for office.
We're busy.
We're busy. We don't necessarily think of politics as the most effective way to bring about change. I mean, and it's not, it's not uncommon. And when you look at what's going on in D.C. and the gridlock that oftentimes happens there, it makes sense that we don't necessarily see that as a vehicle for really bringing about change. But women have to be recruited. They have to be mentored. They have to be asked. And the research shows that they have to be asked about 7 times before they will consider running. And so one of the things that I loved most about serving as the executive director was asking women every single day, every woman that I met, to consider running for office. And knowing that not everybody is cut out to run for office, and saying, if you yourself will not consider it, ask another woman to run. And by all means, support other women who are running for office.
Yeah. I often think that politics is treated as like a spectator sport, where we kind of like to point and yell at what the politicians are doing, and it's like we're watching, Monday Night Football or something. Why is the head coach doing that? I would make these different choices than they are making. But, most of us aren't going to end up on the NFL field,
Right.
or whatever your team, your sport of choice. But we all could end up appointed to office or elected to office. That there's, part of our responsibility as being civically engaged people is to participate and is to run. And but I know that one of those differences is kind of when you make the change from kind of, I'm a caring person, I'm informed, I vote, maybe I support some candidates, to throwing your hat in the ring and stepping onto that public platform is that same criticism comes with it, that same finger pointing, and that can be a big barrier and I've certainly heard that, a big barrier for a lot of people thinking about running for office. So what has that been like for you? And is there anything that prepares you for what happens when you throw your hat in the ring and you step out onto that platform and say, I'm going for this?
Yeah. Well, I like to think that life is the best preparation for everything. And certainly for me, that has been true. As a woman and as a Black woman, living in a society and a culture that does not necessarily value my gender or my race as much as it does others, I have been subjected to criticism and feeling like I am living under a microscope for my entire existence. And so because of that reality, I have had to build up tolerances and resistances to be able to navigate through life in order to succeed. And so that has given me the fortitude and the wherewithal to stand up to that criticism that says, who do you think you are running for this? That stands up to that criticism that says, no one gave you permission. That stands up to that criticism that says, you are not wanted, you are not as valued as anyone else. And so my very existence as a woman of color living today has prepared me to be able to weather all of those criticisms and come out on the other side with another personal mantra that says, she was warned, nevertheless, she still persisted. That's
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you on here to talk about guts and courage. Because that ability to sort of translate your experience as a strength into stepping into this public leadership role is really remarkable and such a great insight and wisdom for the rest of us to think about in our own lives as we think about what we can do to make change as well. We're going to wrap up here in a second.
Okay.
So I want to see if there is, wrap up here again, if there's any advice for members of our community who might be thinking, oh, should I run for office? Can I withstand that? Or maybe they have people in their life that they think should run for office. Do you have any advice for our community?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't think about it, just do it. We need women to step up and to lean into this more than ever before. Your perspectives, your voices, your life experience is so needed right now in our public discourse. And so I would encourage you to understand that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving beyond and continuing to move forward even though that fear is there. And so women are some of the most courageous people on this planet. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I would encourage you to check out Emerge California and check out their website at emergeca.org. Continue going through that process and think about going through the program because we need more women today in leadership positions.
Yeah. I love that message about fear and courage. And somebody asked me recently if I liked public speaking, and I was like, who cares if I like it?
Yeah.
Like, it's important.
That's right.
It's meaningful.
Yeah.
And so like that, I do lots of things that make me uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it feels really important.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone to follow that. And since most of us are not going to be able to vote for you, because I'm not a delegate, and probably most of our community isn't either, what can we do to support you?
Yeah. So if you're not a voting delegate to the California Democratic Party, you can still support this campaign by going to our website, www.voteforkimberly.com. Sign up to be a volunteer, sign up to get our newsletters, and you can also reach out to your elected officials. Our members of our assembly, of our state senate, our congressional delegation, and even our U.S. senators. Reach out to them, let them know that you support Kimberly Ellis to be the next chair of the California Democratic Party, and encourage them to support as well, and encourage other delegates to support this campaign. This is about bringing a new vision, a new energy, redefining what it means to be a Democrat, revolutionizing the Democratic Party to get to a place where we are fighting for equity and justice and fairness for everyone, using this big institution of power to do what I believe politics was really created for, and that is to do good for others.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So we'll be back next week. My guest is going to be Aaron Davidman. He's a writer and actor behind this incredible film that I just saw called Wrestling Jerusalem. He embodies 17 different characters in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And we're going to be talking about what it means to allow for multiple perspectives when you're mired in conflict. So join us next week and see you next time.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.